to Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Manning.
And welcome into the Friday edition of Cody Talks NFL. Hope you guys had a great work week or whatever you guys have going on today. If you had a vacation or whatever's going on in your life. Hope it was amazing. Welcome to my Friday edition of Cody Talks NFL. I can't wait for Sunday's action. We had a pretty good game last night. It unfortunately ended in a disaster. I don't know if that's technically an unfortunate event, I guess would be more correct. And I'll touch upon that when I get into my recap of last night's game. I got three little pieces of news I'll talk about going to last night's game, and then I will be going through the bye teams for you guys today, and then, of course, my game-by-game previews on how I think everything will go. Probably the first biggest piece of news, normally I don't talk about workouts or anything like that. Like, for example, the Eagles brought in Jay for a workout. He's been doing that all year. Normally I want to talk about that stuff, but I felt like it would be remiss of me if I did not at least talk about this one, since it is pretty big NFL news, and that's the whole aspect of my show. It is Cody Talks NFL. But on Saturday, the NFL is holding a workout for Colin Kaepernick. All 32 teams are invited. I understand why people are kind of upset with the timing of it, because most head coaches or GMs won't be able to make the workout because their team will be traveling or because they have the game the next day. But everything is being recorded, so at the end of the day, you can see what you need to see out of him. But as of right now, there are 11 teams that are going to the workout on Saturday. It is Arizona, Atlanta, Cleveland, Denver, Detroit, Miami, New England, the New York Giants, and also the New York Jets, Tampa Bay, and the Washington Redskins. And those are the teams that are committed, and they do expect more teams will join since this only came out yesterday. We'll see if he gets signed. I think from my understanding, this is more gauging where he's at for a potential signing on next year. I do believe he should have a shot to play in the league. I definitely think he should. I mean, when you look across the league, you see guys like Jeff Driscoll and Mason Rudolph, and guys like that are starting at quarterback. He is, if not just as good, if not better than them. But, of course, it does come down to where is his head's at. What does he want out of this? Does he want to start? Does he want to play? Or is this about getting a contract? Is it just about using the platform again for what he wanted? I'm not going to go into that because at Blitzalytics, we don't go into, politics and stuff like that with our coverage. But, it'll be interesting to see if he's able to play. If I had a pick, maybe a spot like Tampa Bay makes sense, with the whole Jameis situation. Detroit with the whole Matthew Stafford back situation, even though I'm not sure if he would fit that type of offensive style. So it just depends on what he's looking out of it and what the teams are looking out of him for. But obviously, there may become a distraction. There may be blowback because of this. So this is something that's big, and you got to assess if he's worth it with how much money he might be demanding. That's the biggest thing too, is how much money is he trying to get out of this. But we'll see. The workout comes on Saturday. I'm not sure if they're going to leak any highlights or anything like that. And if there's any update on that, if a team signs him, then I'll definitely cover that on the Monday episode. Next little piece of news that came out this week is a guy I thought was going to get fired at the end of the season, or at some point this season. Not going to happen, apparently. Jets owner Christopher Johnson confirmed that Adam Gase won't be fired this week, and he will return in 2020. I really don't believe in that. Now, I've been this kind of goes with last night. I was saying Freddie Kitchens is over in his head. I'm also not the biggest believer that you should fire a coach within a year or two, or at least 3 years. I do feel like a coach should have at least 3 years to implement his system, his culture, and everything. And that's where you can really gauge where he is at with your organization. But my problem with Adam Gase is he's had that chance, and he blew that chance in Miami. And he's doing the exact same things up in New York with the Jets. So I don't understand why he would want to return. Apparently, Christopher Johnson likes the dynamic between him and the new general manager, Joe Douglas. We'll see if this works out for them in the long run. I don't believe it. So who knows? He could be easily at the same point next year, and we'll be having the same conversation in 2020. Next little piece of news that came out is the Bucs have officially given up on their former first-round pick, Vernon Hargreaves. They did cut him this week just because of lack of effort. It was actually kind of a surprising cut, not because of not that I thought Hargraves was playing good at all. It's just because the Bucs are really banged up right now at the cornerback position. So you think they would take anything they can get as far as help, but obviously Bruce Arians is not going to play around with guys that won't give him their all that he feels like. So they cut him. They're moving on from him, and the Texans claimed him off the waivers. So the Texans continue trying to put together basically a Band-Aid type of roster of former first-round picks in their secondary. They did trade for Gareon Clowney earlier this year. They brought in Bradley Roby. I think he was a second-rounder in the draft, but they brought him in from Denver this offseason, and now they've just brought in Vernon Hargraves. So they're basically hoping their patchwork of quarterbacks can actually help and make a good secondary for their playoff push, because they'll definitely need it, because that defense needs as much help as they can get with J.J. Watt being out. But, seeing after, being the Bucs beat writer, watching Vernon Hargraves, actually when I was working with the team over the last 4 years, he's kind of been a liability in the NFL, so I don't really trust this. But, I'm not saying he's going to have this type of impact at all, but look at Minkah Fitzpatrick. Sometimes it's all it takes is a player to get a change of scenery, a change of scheme fit, and then he can flourish. So if he can flourish in Houston, that's great, but only time, just like Adam Gase in New York, only time will tell with that. And then I'm going to go in to get into last night's game. I guess I should start with the biggest thing from last night's game, right? It's basically inexcusable for Myles Garrett to take a helmet and swing it at another man's helmet. That's basically assault with a deadly weapon. I do believe he should be probably suspended. This has happened before. There was one player, I forget his name, he swung his helmet at Richie Incognito, but missed in a game. He ended up getting suspended 2 preseason games and a regular season game. So that was a 3-game suspension, but the helmet didn't connect. Albert Haynesworth stomped on somebody's face about a decade ago. He ended up getting suspended 5 games because of this. Obviously, this is a different era of the NFL. Player safety is something that the NFL harps on. There is a lot of backlash on this from, I guess you could say, the NFL Twitter world on the social media. So I feel like the NFL is under a lot of pressure to make sure they do get the suspension right with him. I would say that I don't think it's – the thing is, if he would have a history of doing this, I know he's kind of been really weirdly aggressive this year with his play, but he's kind of known for being more of a laid-back guy, nice guy. So it's just kind of out of character for him. So I do think they slap him with a 6-game suspension, and they do end their year, end the season. But I wouldn't be surprised if they slap him with a 6-game suspension, and then he goes through the appeal process and he gets it knocked down to 4 games. As far as Marquise Pound, it's Mike Pouncey. I hope I got that right. In Pittsburgh. But as far as Pouncey for jumping on him, throwing the punches, I got to give him, man. He was protecting his quarterback because of like how bad of an image this makes it look on the league. I'm sure he's going to get some type of suspension, maybe a game, maybe 2 games. I think it might be 2 games because it is Marquise. Thank you, Rob. But I think he might get 2 games because the Browns and Steelers face off again in 2 weeks. So they might give him a 2-game suspension. I am in the believer that what's his name? Mason Rudolph should also face at least a 1-game suspension. I know what Garrett did compared to him isn't very comparable, but at the end of the day, he kind of instigated it. Yeah, Garrett kind of took his time bringing him to the ground after the play was over, but he still kicked him in the groin area, and he was the one trying to yank Garrett's helmet off. So he was at least initiating, which like I said, I think it should end up being a 1-game suspension for him. Maybe he can appeal it and get 0 games, maybe a fine, but he did rip his helmet off, and I think just Garrett was just like, kind of lost his cool when he was getting his helmet ripped off, was just basically grabbing his helmet like, hey, look, I could just easily do this to you. But then I think tempers flared. Like what Pouncey talked about when he did in retaliation, he doesn't even remember. He kind of just blacked out and did it. I wouldn't be surprised that maybe that kind of just happens. Sometimes it's a violent sport. Things happen. I understand you don't want to end the game, but let's kind of understand who these people are, maybe what happened, what led to it. But he probably should be suspended for at least the rest of the season. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets suspended for the rest of the season. He appeals it, and it ends up being maybe a 4 or 5, probably at least a 5-game suspension because of Haynesworth. But I feel like it's going to start off at least at 6, maybe longer, maybe even goes into next year. We will see. From what I understand, before I hopped on the recording, it's the league office has been investigating it, looking more into it heavily this morning. So as you're listening to this, maybe even as I'm recording this, some suspensions or some type of update may come out. So do stay tuned in that. And then obviously, I think the suspensions will happen at some point this weekend, and I will more than likely have an update for you on Cody Talks NFL Monday. All right, I got that out of the way. I hate talking about that stuff, but I want to be doing my type of show if I would just ignore it. So, but I'm gonna get into the game. The Browns did win 21-7 last night. It wasn't the prettiest win because the Steelers, they did lose. Juju Smith-Schuster with a concussion in the first half, and James Conner left early. He re-aggravated his AC joint injury, and also Artie Burns and Ola Adeniyi got hurt. And then on the Browns front, Morgan Burnett, who had a really good game, had a couple picks, a couple really great fourth down stops. He had sounds like he did tear his Achilles. The MRI is going to confirm that today. But as far as the game, though, this feels like the Browns should have won by more. That's my only issue. They're still working kinks out on the offense. If they end up missing Garrett, that defense takes a significant impact. But they are now sitting at a 4-6 record, and the rest of their schedule is pretty. It's up there. The 6 games that they got coming up, they're definitely winnable games. The only team they face that's over 500 is the Baltimore Ravens, who they beat earlier this year. Only other team I really could see them struggling with is the Arizona Cardinals, just because they're like a sneaky good offense, and I really don't just trust the Browns, so I can see that being a game they could fall to. But other than that, they got the Bengals twice. They play the Steelers again, and then so it's the Bengals twice, Steelers again, the Ravens, the Cardinals, and they got the Dolphins too. So that's what I'm saying. I think the Browns, they could go on a run. And I think they dropped the next game to the Ravens. I could see them finishing at 9-7 and having a shot at the playoffs still. But hey, in the AFC, that could get you in the playoffs. But I don't know. This whole Myles Garrett thing might put a damper on this win, and they could completely fall apart too. So I'm not buying into it. I'm just saying there is a pathway for the Browns to make the playoffs. As far as the Steelers, they're sitting at 5-5, and basically what happened last night in the game was what I was kind of preaching on after their little 4-game winning streak they just went on. It's just that what the defense was doing it's just unsustainable with an offense. They can't do anything, and their offense already can't do anything. And they lost Connor again, and they lost Juju, who has been quiet this year. It's not necessarily his fault, but he has had a quiet year for Juju. So if their offense can't figure it out, and then they're probably maybe going to miss Pouncey, maybe miss Rudolph for a game or two, it's going to hurt their chances. They're sitting at 5-5, of course. They still have a chance to make the playoffs, but I just don't know if I could trust that happening because I cannot trust their offense. So other than that, it sucks to talk about this game because the incident that ended the game is something that this game doesn't need. And then one last thing before I move on to my bye teams is the Browns actually prior to the game did release Antonio Callaway, young kid wide receiver out of Florida, has all the talent, but in his head, he just cannot stay focused. He had multiple issues, which included tardiness. And then it came out that he's actually right now appealing a 10-game suspension from the league because he has another violation because of substance abuse policy. That wasn't the only reason, but it's an important factor. He had his hearing last week. And then apparently Callaway did he told those poised to the administrator the suspension sustains from a tainted CBD product. So I don't know how he's going to win that argument because I'm pretty sure players can't use CBD right now. So he got in trouble for weed earlier. So I just think he was probably smoking weed and trying to say it's a tainted CBD product. And He's just making himself look worse in the situation. I just hope whatever happens with the kid, he does get his head on straight and he can play football one day because he's got the talent. It's the off-field stuff with him. I'm gonna go ahead and get into the bye teams, and I'm not gonna get into anything at all. No news, some significant news came out for either team. So if you're a fan of the Giants, Packers, Seahawks, or Titans, I got no updates for you. I'm sure if there's anything that does come out over the weekend, I will address that at the time being. So I'm going to go ahead and get into my game previews for our Sunday action. I'm going to start it off with Atlanta is going to Carolina to face the Panthers. No major news as far as injuries, though. The Falcons, I got a couple updates on players. Austin Hooper ended up getting ruled out for about a month. We'll see if he can come back sooner with an MCL sprain. And Devontae Freeman could miss the next 2 weeks with a midfoot sprain. As far as significant names on the injury report heading into the matchup with the Falcons, Camille Ishmael has not practiced with a concussion. Matt Ryan has been limited with his ankle injury this week. Desmond Trufant has been limited with a toe injury, and Ryan Allen has been limited with an ankle injury. And on the Panthers front, Dante Jackson has not practiced with his hip injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I think with it being at home in Carolina, the Falcons are missing Freeman. The Falcons are now missing Hooper. I think the Panthers kind of handle their business. They're coming off I want to say brutal, but a somewhat disappointing loss against the Packers. You know, they had the chance to tie it up at the end. They basically went toe to toe with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, so that's got to give some type of confidence to Kyle Allen. I know the Falcons just kind of really upset the Saints, but sometimes teams get lucky in this league, but I don't want to call it lucky, but sometimes things just happen for teams in the week. I think they came coming off their bye. The team fought hard for Dan Quinn, but I think the Panthers do win this game. I think Christian McCaffrey runs all over their defense. I think Kyle Allen has a good day, too, throwing the ball to Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore. I think their defense does get after Matt Ryan, creates sacks, maybe some potential turnovers. With it being a divisional game, I will say it'll be close, but I just think the Panthers are going to have a control. I feel like it's going to seem like they're in control of a close game, if that makes any sense to you. I'm going to say the Panthers do win, though, like a 24-18, 19, 24-20 type win for the Panthers. And I'm going to go in and get into the next game with the Dallas Cowboys are traveling out to Detroit to face the Lions. Connor Williams, a starter for the Cowboys line, did have knee surgery this week, so he's actually going to be out the next few weeks. I'm not sure if that really hurts or dampers because he's kind of been a disappointment since coming into the league. And then I'm going to go ahead and go through the significant names on the injury reports for both teams. With the Cowboys, Collins has not practiced this week with a knee and back injury. Amari Cooper was limited with a knee and ankle injury. Jeff Heath has been limited with a shoulder injury. DeMarcus Lawrence has been limited with a neck injury. Zach Martin is like me every day waking up since I turned 30. He's been limited with a back, ankle, and elbow injury. And Antoine Woods has been limited with a shoulder injury. And then going through the Lions report, Matthew Stafford has not practiced this week with a hip and back injury. So it does look like Matthew Stafford's going to miss at least one more week with his injury. Deshaun Hand has not practiced with the ankle injury. Damon Harrison has not practiced with the groin injury. Rick Wagner has not practiced with a concussion. Tracy Walker has not practiced with a knee injury. Ty Johnson's been limited with a concussion. Sam Martin's been limited with the abdomen. Romeo Okwara has been limited with a groin injury, and Darius Slay has been limited with a neck injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I mean, if Matthew Stafford was going to play, I think this would be actually a really entertaining, close game where they go back-to-back with points and everything. It could be one of those exciting type of games to watch. But with that being said, with Stafford being out, with the Cowboys coming off a disappointing loss to the Vikings last week at home, I think the Cowboys are going to come out angry. I think their defense is going to get after Jeff Driscoll. They're going to force him into turnovers, force him into mistakes, force him into 3-and-outs. I think that the offense is going to be able to march down the field. Detroit's defense is not that great against the run, so this seems like a perfect game for Ezekiel Elliott to have one of his his Zeke games where he goes like 120 rushing yards and a couple touchdowns. I think because of the Stafford injury and because they came off a loss, I think the Cowboys do handle business against Detroit. I think they end up winning by at least 10 plus points. I don't, without Stafford, I just don't see a way how. I could tell you a story how, but it's like slim to none that the Lions are even within a close chance of winning this game. I'm going to go ahead and get to the next game. Jacksonville is traveling up to Indianapolis to face the Colts. No major news has came out with either team. As far as significant names on the injury report, for the Jaguars, these following players are all limited. Brandon Linder with a shoulder injury. Cam Robinson with a knee injury, Calais Campbell with a back injury, Ronnie Harrison with an eye injury, and Seth DeVal with a oblique injury. And then the Colts are somewhat banged up right now still. T.Y. Hilton has yet to return to practice with his calf injury, so he's probably out again this week. Mo Alley Cox hasn't practiced with a hip. Paris Campbell is out still with his hand. He hasn't practiced. Same with Pierre Desir with his hamstring. He has yet to return to practice for the Colts. Jordan Wilkins did not practice with an ankle injury. Malik Hooker did not practice with a knee injury, but he did the same thing last week. But I don't want to assume that he's going to play, so look out for the injury report that comes out today. And then Jack Doyle was limited with a shoulder injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, it's going to be interesting because it's Nick Foles' first time returning since his injury. And then the Colts get Jacoby Brissett back after a major disappointment loss, and you can argue embarrassing loss to the Dolphins last week. So I feel like the Colts at home are going to come out angry. They're going to come out with a mission to win this game. They understand that they're in an important stretch of their schedule where they can help seal and get back into the playoffs and try to make a push to win the AFC South against the Texans, because they do face the Texans on Thursday night football next week. So that's something I think that the Colts are playing for. But the same thing with the Jaguars. They're only sitting at 4-5. They get their guy that they brought in to be a leader to maybe help them push that edge to make the playoffs. So is the Jaguars going to come out firing? They just come off their bye week. They're relatively healthy. They're going to want to make push for the playoffs with Nick Foles. So it's hard for me to make a proper prediction, removing my biasness out of this. I think this is going to be a really good, close divisional matchup game. I think this is actually going to come down to who has the ball last. Then, as I said, I don't want to have my biases in this, but I'm going to say because they are at home, the Colts find a way to get the ball at the end, and they kick a game-winning field goal. I think they win like a 27-24 type win. But with that being said, like I said, I can see this going either other way. I can also see the Jaguars, Nick Foles gets the ball at the end of the game, and he leads them to field goal range, and they kick the field goal to win a 27-24 type win. But if I had to pick a team, of course I'm going to go with my team because they are at home in Indianapolis, and plus they got to be fired up after dropping the last two games. And the fact that Jacoby Brissett's returning will significantly help their offense, which they much need. I'm going to go into the next game, though. Buffalo is traveling to Miami to face the Dolphins. As far as no major news on either team, with the injury reports on the Bills front, Dawson Knox has not practiced with a knee injury. Jerry Hughes has been limited with a groin injury. On the Dolphins front, Ken Webster has not practiced with an ankle injury. Taco Charlton has been limited with an elbow injury, and Raekwon McMillan has been limited with a knee injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I know the Miami Dolphins just won their last two games. I know they've been very competitive, but I'm sure at some point they're going to want to start dropping those games again, too, so they can be in conversation for one of those top quarterbacks in this next draft class. So, and then on top of that, too, Buffalo just dropped the game. They lost to the Browns. They don't want to lose their stronghold of at least the fifth position in the AFC playoff picture. So I think they're going to come out, with a mission. They're going to come out strong, come out fast. I would expect them to try and jump out on a big early lead on the Dolphins and don't look back. It could be closer because it's a divisional matchup, definitely. Dolphins had a chance to actually almost beat the Bills the last time they faced earlier in the season. But something tells me the Bills are going to want to handle their business in this one and not mess around and not let another game slip away on them. I'm going to say the Bills win. I'm gonna say they win, but with it being a divisional matchup, I say they win by like 5 or 6 points. So it'll be like a 27-21 type win for the Bills. I'm gonna go ahead and get to it probably is the best matchup of Week 11 in the NFL. I don't know why. No offense to my producer Rob, but I don't know why they left the Rams and Bears game on Sunday Night Football when they could have flexed the Texans and Ravens game in. I don't know what the NFL league office saw in that matchup because usually I think they have to make that decision. I want to say roughly around 3 or 4 weeks prior to the matchup. So I don't know what they were seeing from the Rams or Bears 3 or 4 weeks ago to make you think that you wanted to keep that on the Sunday night matchup, and why you would not want to switch, especially after Baltimore beat New England. Like, why would you not want to have Deshaun Watson versus Lamar Jackson on Sunday Night Football? That's going to get you ratings. I'm going to go ahead and get into the preview really quick. No news came out on either team. With the injury front, the Texans, Dylan Cole has been limited with a knee injury. Will Fuller's been limited with a hamstring injury. Deshaun Gibson has been limited with a back and wrist injury. Titus Howard has been limited with a knee injury. And Bradley Roby has been limited with a hamstring injury. And then Laramie Tunsil has been limited with a shoulder injury. And then on the Ravens front, Michael Pierce has not practiced with an ankle injury. Marquise Brown has not practiced with his ankle injury. And then Chris Moore has been limited with a thumb injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, it's going to be really hard for me to predict. I think this has a chance to be a shootout. I think this could be a very fun matchup to watch between two young quarterbacks going back and forth. With it being in Baltimore, I'm going to lean towards the Ravens. Also because I really don't know if I could trust the Texans defense without J.J. Watt to slow down Lamar Jackson. With how he is playing right now on the ground and through the air. I think the Baltimore Ravens do win. I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. It's going to be an exciting matchup. I'm not sure if they reach 30 points, but it feels like it's going to be a lot of points in this matchup. But I'm going to go ahead and say I think the Baltimore Ravens win 28-24 in this matchup because, both teams got something to play for. But I know the Ravens don't want to slip up because they're one game back from the Patriots, and they own that tiebreaker against the Patriots. And if they can continue to win and the Patriots drop a game, they'll be the first seed in the AFC. So I know that the Ravens are playing for that. I know also the Texans understand. They got a one-game lead against the Colts on the AFC South. Shoot, they're only a game back from the Ravens. If they beat the Ravens, and they can get a first-round bye. So that's why both teams are got something to play for. It's going to be a great game. But since it is in Baltimore, and I just don't trust the Texans defense whatsoever without J.J. Watt, I'm going to take the Ravens in this one. Going into the next game, Denver is traveling up to Minnesota to face the Broncos. As far as news and injury, no news on either team. Injuries, Bryce Callahan ended up not practicing this week. He was one of their offseason signings that hasn't practiced this whole year, and it does sound like he could be headed to IR this weekend. As far as other players, though, heading into the matchup, Jeff Heerman has been limited this week with a knee injury. Juwan James has been limited with a knee injury, and Deshaun Hamilton has been limited with a knee injury. Those are the Broncos injuries heading into the matchup. On the Vikings front, Adam Thielen has yet returned to practice with his hamstring injury, so he's probably going to miss this game and then go into the bye week and try to come out healthy. Josh Klein has not practiced with a concussion. Linval Joseph has not practiced with his knee injury, and Anthony Harris has not practiced with his groin injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I think the Vikings blow them out. I really do. Vikings are a different team at home. Their defense plays so much better at home. I know Brandon Allen led his team to a victory in his first start a couple of weeks ago, but I think when you go against a defense like Minnesota at home, he's going to come back down to earth. So I think Minnesota's defense is going to get a touchdown or two. It's going to get to the point where I think they're going to go up big and just have to run the ball and control the game for the rest of the game. So I think the Vikings win by 14-plus points against the Broncos in this one. I really do. I understand Broncos got a pretty tough defense, but I think that offense is going to fall apart against this Vikings defense on the road. And plus, it's, Gary Kubiak's part of the Minnesota offense, so I'm sure he's going to want to stick it to his former team. So I think the Vikings I really do think they end up walking away with this win. And then the next matchup, am probably going to talk about these two teams longer than I expected when I started putting together my script yesterday. But the New York Jets are traveling to Washington to face the Redskins. The battle of probably the two worst franchises a player or anybody could want to work for in this league. Now, there's a couple different news items. I'm going to start with the Jets. It came out on Twitter last night. Quincy Enunwa called out the Jets. And for those that you're not in tune with the Jets team, Quincy Enunwa is a wide receiver for the Jets who they have given a contract extension to, who has been placed on IR for the second time in the last few seasons. But he got a $27,900 fine for missing a couple of his treatments for his injury. And if any of us know the Kelechi Assembly drama that the Jets had earlier with his injury, well, it continues to do it with the Jets. So this is I'm gonna say these word by word. These are tweets that Quincy Enunwa put out there last night. He posted a picture because apparently the Jets think it's Adam Gase thinks it's a brilliant idea to post every player's fines in front of the whole team. So, again, that's why I question why Adam Gase is a coach. But, here's what he said. He went off on a tirade of tweets about the whole situation. But he goes, given everything that's going around the team, I thought this could have been handled so many different ways. I spent my time with the team trying to build myself up to be dependable and hardworking. So this shit hurts. I missed those 2 days because I took my veteran wife out for Veterans Day lunch. And because I had to handle an emergency in my house, I let the team know after the fact. And yes, I know I should have told them beforehand, but I felt like this was excessive. I'm on IR trying to get back to play, so I never thought they would be worried about me missing, but obviously I was wrong. The biggest reason it hurts is because I am on IR for the second time in my career, and the doctor told me I have a 50-50 chance of coming back to play. I shouldn't even have to be in the building, but being reminded every day of what I can do or what I can't do. This shit feels like punishment already, and then they find me to the max, and then they want me to continue my rehab there, and if I get healthy, they want me to play for them after. I'm not writing this for sympathy and never wanted to even say anything, but when multiple teammates are coming up to me saying that it's fucked up, I don't care to sit on it anymore. Those were directly from Quincy Enunwa's mouth, or I guess fingers, because it came off of Twitter. But, man, this Jets organization is trash. I'm sorry. You can't treat players like this, especially when it comes to injuries, and you can't let this stuff get out in public and think that's good. It's not going to have no type of blowback to your chances on signing a free agent. Will players maybe still sign there? Yeah, because players need to find a place they can sign and play and collect a check. But you getting the top elite upper echelon free agents, good luck. Good luck. That's all I got to say. This is two players in the same season that has issues with the team, and good luck until you fix that problem. So another things, now let's go to the other side, the Washington Redskins. Now, this isn't necessary on the Redskins organization. This is a player that probably needs to learn. He needs to stay out of the late night life because this is the second time he's got in trouble with being out late. But Monte Nicholson is back in the news for another incident not related to football. It came out through TMZ that Nicholson and another man, they brought in an unidentified 21-year-old woman to the ER in Ashburn, Virginia on Thursday around 1:30 a.m. And she was pronounced dead at the ER from an apparent drug overdose. The report is he's cooperating with the authorities. Redskins put a statement out there. We've been made aware of the tragic event and extend our deepest sympathies to the family who lost a loved one. Our team has alerted the league office and is cooperating with local authorities. We fully support law enforcement and respect the process no matter what. And this is one of their starting safeties, one of the guys that have actually been playing pretty good for them. And I'm not going to make a comment on the legal matter. I assume that he's probably going to have to miss games until this situation is figured out. He is dealing with an ankle injury anyways, but if for any reason he had a part in this girl's death, then he doesn't belong in the league. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to comment on it. I'm just saying if he does have a part in it, he probably shouldn't be in the league. But if he just happened to be at the club when this happened to this girl and he brought her to the hospital, then that's what you can at least hope for. He was just being a good man, trying to help out a girl in a poor situation like that. But let the facts come out. But it's not a good look for him because it's the second time when it's been a late night altercation off the field that he is involved with. So sometimes I just beg players, if you happen to be a player listening to this, like, please just make smart decisions when you have a great opportunity like you do in the NFL. All right, with all that off-field stuff covered, like I said, when I put this script together, I did not expect to cover this game that much. I honestly thought I was going to breeze right through this game because it's two bad teams playing each other. But as far as injuries heading into the matchup, of course, but we should know the Jets list is so long, so bear with me. It's going to be even a longer coverage of this stupid game. All right, Brandon Copeland has not practiced with a hip and thumb injury. C.J. Mosley has not practiced with a groin injury. Darrell Roberts has not practiced with a calf injury. Ryan Khalil has not practiced with a knee injury. Following players have been limited for the Jets. Le'Veon Bell, he's been limited with a ribs, knee, and an illness. Henry Anderson with a shoulder. Robbie Anderson with a back and shoulder. Kelvin Beachum with the ankle injury. Neville Hewitt with a neck and knee injury. Alex Lewis with an elbow injury. Steve McClendon with a neck injury. And finally, Demarius Thomas with a knee and hamstring injury. And then as far as the Redskins front, Paul Richardson has not practiced with a hamstring. Chris Thompson has not practiced with a toe injury. Adrian Peterson has not practiced with a toe injury. And Vernon Davis has been limited with a concussion. As far as how I think this game is going to go, I don't know, guys. It feels like a dumpster fire type of a game. I could see this game ending in a tie. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. I'm going to take the Jets just because I guess I trust Sam Darnold in that offense more than I trust the Redskins offense with Dwayne Harris, even though he maybe could have a great game because the Jets' pass defense is terrible. So I'm going to think the Jets are going to squeeze out a low-scoring affair. I'm going to say the Jets win a 12-9 type game. That's how bad I think of each offense right now. But, yeah, that's how fast I knew I was going to cover the game. It just had a lot of off-field stupid stuff that made that little section a lot longer than it should have. But I think it's going to be the Jets. I just think maybe their offense finds a way to get the team in scoring position more than the Redskins can. I'm going to go ahead and get to the next game. New Orleans is traveling to Tampa Bay to face the Saints. As far as news, as far as an injury front, though, for the Saints, one of their best linemen, Andrews Peat, he's out for the next 6 weeks with a broken arm. Then Marshawn Lattimore has not practiced with a hamstring injury. Zach Klein has been limited with a knee injury. Demario Davis has been limited with a hamstring injury. The Bucs front, MJ Stewart has not practiced with a knee injury. Carlton Davis has been limited with a hip injury. And then Carl Nassib has been limited with a groin injury. As far as how I think this game is going to go, everything tells me the Saints are going to be upset that they got beat down by the Falcons. They're going to come out firing. Their defense is going to get in Jameis' face. They're going to force him into turnovers. Drew Brees is probably going to pick them apart because that pass defense is not only bad, but they're all banged up right now for the players that they do have in the young secondary. So I just say the Saints are going to win, but I also understand it's weird. If you look at the history, Drew Brees and the Saints actually typically play bad in Tampa. Tampa is, when I was with them, they would actually tend to upset the Saints in Tampa Bay. So history kind of makes me think like, well, maybe Tampa surprises them here. But I'm going to go with the Saints because they are coming off that loss to the Falcons. Maybe they beat the Falcons. I could see the upset happening. But I know they're not going to want to drop 2 games in a row. They got Super Bowl aspirations. But I do think the Bucs will keep it competitive just like they have been all year. With Marshawn Lattimore being out, that means Mike Evans is probably going to have a great day against the Saints. So I think the Saints squeeze out a barely win. I think they win 30-27. I think they barely squeak it out, though, because I think the Bucs are going to have a chance to win it as well on Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and get into the afternoon games. Starting with Arizona's traveling out to San Francisco to face the Niners. No news came out on either team. As far as injuries with the Cardinals, Jonathan Bullard has not practiced with a foot injury. Terrell Suggs has not practiced with a hamstring and back injury. Chase Edmonds has not practiced with a hamstring injury. Patrick Peterson has been limited with a calf injury. Tremaine Barak has been limited with a hamstring injury. Rodney Hunter has been limited with a calf injury, and Justin Murray has been limited with a knee injury. On the 49ers front, Emmanuel Sanders has not practiced this week with his ribs injury. He's going to be more of a game-time decision. Matt Breida has not practiced with an ankle injury. Robbie Gould has not practiced with a quadricep injury. DJ Jones has not practiced with a groin injury. Joe Staley has not practiced with a finger injury. Aziz Al-Shahir has been limited with a concussion. D Ford has been limited with a quadricep injury. George Kittle has been limited this week with a knee and ankle injury. Raheem Mostert has been limited with a knee injury. Dante Pettis has been limited with a back injury. And Akila Witherspoon has been limited with a foot and quadricep injury. So the Niners are pretty banged up right now, but they're coming off a pretty long game, overtime game, all banged up. They might come out slow against the Cardinals. I believe that coming off an overtime game on Monday night where a bunch of your players are pretty banged up right now. And if anybody does remember, the Cardinals only lost 28-25. They did have a chance to beat the Niners in that last matchup. But same thing with the Saints, though, with the Niners. I think coming off that loss to Seattle, I think they're going to be mad. They're going to be angry. They're going to want to get after Kyler. Their defensive front is still great. So I think the 49ers are going to win because it's a divisional matchup. And based on how the matchup went last time, I do think the Cardinals will play with more confidence in this matchup. So it's going to be a close one, I still think. But I do think the Niners do find a way to win. I think the Niners end up winning like a 31 to like a 28, 31 to 27 type game for the Niners. But I do got the Niners winning, but I do think the Cardinals are going to stay within pace of them just because of how banged up San Francisco is right now and the fact that they did go toe-to-toe with them the last time that they met on October 31st. I'm going to go ahead and get into the next game. Cincinnati is traveling to Oakland to face the Raiders. As far as news on the Bengals front, they actually released Preston Brown this week. The Bengals actually just signed Brown to a 3-year, $16.5 million deal in March. It included $4.8 million in guaranteed money, and he was the highest paid linebacker on the team. It just did not work out for them. They'll have like around $2.5 million in dead money over the next 2 seasons. So not that much of an impact. Just I always find it weird when a team gives a guy an extension and literally that following season they end up releasing him. Kind of looks bad on your front office, in my opinion. As far as injuries heading into the matchup, A.J. Green has yet to practice with his ankle injury. I don't understand why they don't just shut him down. Trey Kirkpatrick has not practiced with a knee injury. Alex Redmond has not practiced with a knee and ankle injury. Geno Atkins has not practiced with a knee injury. And then Alex Erickson has been limited with a back injury. Bobby Hart has been limited with a shoulder injury. On the Raiders front, LaMarcus Joyner has not practiced with a shoulder injury. Trent Brown has not practiced he's been limited with a knee injury. Dwayne Harris has been limited with a foot injury. Rodney Hudson's been limited with an ankle injury. Josh Jacobs has been limited with a shoulder injury. And then Trayvon Mullen has been limited with an illness. As far as how I think this game's going to go, it's in the black hole. Oakland's coming off a big win. They're rolling right now. I don't see any scenario that Cincinnati is going to win a game anytime soon. If you guys saw it, a pretty funny thing when I was trying to do my research, a Bengals fan made a bet where he would live on the roof of his restaurant until the Bengals win a game. And you might be stuck up there for a long time. But, I think the Raiders are going to handle their business. It's in Oakland. Unless they fall completely flat on their face and overlook the Bengals, I don't know if this is going to be much of a game. I think they're going to score a couple touchdowns and then just lead on Josh Jacobs all game to control the time of possession and walk away with the win. I think the Raiders should win this game by 10-plus points in this matchup. I'm going to go ahead and get into the next game. We got a little Super Bowl rematch going on. This could be a good game or it could be a really bad game. You never know with the Patriots. The Patriots are traveling, and that's a good thing, Patriots. I'm giving you a compliment. New England is traveling out to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. No news on either team as far as injuries. Patriots, Patrick Chung has been limited with a heel and chest injury. Matt Lacoste has been limited with a knee injury. Danny Shelton has been limited with a knee injury. John Simon has been limited with a elbow injury. On the Eagles front, Nigel Bradham hasn't practiced with an ankle injury. Alshon Jeffrey hasn't practiced with an ankle injury. Darren Sproles hasn't practiced with a quadricep injury. Jason Peters has been limited with a knee injury. And then Jordan Howard has been limited with a shoulder injury. As far as how this game's going to go, it's hard for me to predict because, like, something tells me, logic, tells you that coming off a bye week, coming off where they lost the Ravens before the bye week, no, they lost the Super Bowl to the Eagles. So everything says the Patriots are just going to probably come out, walk away with a win, and they're going to win by like 14 plus points. They're going to create turnovers. They're going to get the, what Brady does, dink and dunk the ball all down the field and just get touchdowns, make smart decisions all day. And it's just a clean, easy win for New England. But I also understand with the Cowboys dropping a game last week, Eagles are like, hey, we still got a shot at this NFC East. We got to win this game. So they're kind of like a back against the wall type team where, yeah, they are missing Jeffrey, which I think does hurt their chances in the pass game, but they're going to want to come out swinging. They're not going to want to back down. So my gut tells me this is going to be a close game. I don't know if the Eagles win. I just can't comfortably say that. I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off the win, but I'm going to pick the Patriots. Like I said, I can totally see a Patriots blowout happening where the Eagles don't even have a shot to win. But I'll take it as a close game because the Eagles do have something to fight for. I'm going to say the Patriots do win a close one. Maybe like a 27-24 type win for the Patriots. I just can't – I have a tough time to imagine if it's going to be points scored or no points scored. But I think it's going to maybe come down to a field goal. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots walk away with a win too. And I'm going to go ahead and get into this next game, the Sunday night game that I wish wasn't a Sunday night game. Sorry, Rob. Chicago is traveling out to L.A. to face the Rams. As far as news, no news on either team. As far as injuries, though, the Bears, Trey Burton hasn't practiced with a calf injury. Danny Trevathan has not practiced with an elbow injury. David Montgomery has not practiced with an ankle injury, and then Adam Shaheem has not practiced with a foot injury. With the Rams front, Rob Havenstein has not practiced with a knee injury. Tyler Higbee has not practiced with a knee injury. Brandon Cooks was limited with his concussion, but I believe he was already ruled out. But the fact that he's practicing in a limited form is promising. And then Gerald Everett has been limited with a wrist injury. As far as this game, I think the Rams should walk away. But I can't trust their offense, right? But I do trust their defense. Not 100%, but I do trust them. I mean, they made some plays last week. Their offense is just going to help that defense get the victory. So I definitely think the Rams defense is going to get after Trubisky, going to force turnovers, maybe score another touchdown. That might be the way how they have to win. I mean, the Bears defense still is tough, but I think they can still find a way to move the ball down the field enough on the Bears defense. I want to say the Rams walk away with it, but just because of how unidentifiable that offense is for LA, I can't comfortably say that. I'm going to say the Rams win a close one, a 21-17 type win. I do think at the end of the day, Rams will find a way to win just because I simply do not trust Mitchell Trubisky, but it's not like I trust Jared Goff either. But I think the Rams defense finds a way to make more plays than the Bears defense in the Sunday night matchup. So yeah, I got the Rams winning in a close one, like a 21-17 type win for the Rams. And then the Monday night game, Kansas City is going to, and the Chargers are facing off in Mexico City. No news on either team. And just like always for the Monday night games, please tune into my Monday episode of Cody Talks NFL, where I'll give the injury report update, any news updates that may come out over the weekend. And yeah, I'll talk about that game on Monday. And then it's time. Rob has got his question. And if anybody's not a listener to the Pick Six Pod, it's one of his other podcasts within the Blitzalytics network where they pick sick, or they rank their worst or favorite, whatever it is. Like his question right now, Pick Six Pod is releasing their favorite safeties of all time. Who is my favorite? His guess is Bob Sanders. I mean, yeah, from an aspect, yeah, Bob Sanders. But I mean, if I would pick from who I enjoyed watching, probably Ed Reed. Ed Reed is probably my favorite safety of all time. Yes, I did love Bob Sanders. He was one of the funnest players, one of the funnest Colts defensive players to play. But he's not even my favorite Colts safety of all time. Surprise, Rob. My favorite Colts safety of all time, one of my favorite, most underrated safeties of all time, is Antoine Bethea. Antoine Bethea was part of the Colts for a long time. He's still in the league. He ended up going to the Niners and Cardinals for a while. Now he's on the Giants. He made an interception a couple weeks ago on prime time. So he was one of my favorite safeties. He just came in as a rookie. He was one of our sneaky parts of our team that helped us win that Super Bowl in 2006. So he's been playing for like 13 years. One of the more underrated guys. But if I had to pick my favorite, he's not my favorite, but he's actually my favorite Colts safety of all time. Then it's probably Bob Sanders. But Ed Reed is probably my favorite safety of all time, just because he was a ball hawk. He knew how to talk. He's a fun personality. And, I mean, who didn't love Ed Reed? So if I had to pick, Ed Reed would be my favorite. And then probably Antoine Bethea, then Bob Sanders. And then, who didn't like Troy Polamalu as well, too? I mean, now, Rob, you're making me wish I was on that episode, and I would just start to, listen to a bunch of safeties. But, yeah, other than that, guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Friday edition of Cody Talks NFL. If you like what you heard today, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this, you already know what I'm about to say. You can also get this on the Blitzalytics podcast network. Jack confirmed to us we're now on 11 podcast platforms where you can find us at. Just search Blitzalytics podcast network. You can get my Cody Talks NFL show on there. You can get the Pick Six Pod on there. And the XFL Files is on there. The staple podcast of Blitzalytics, the Blitz Breakdown, is on there. And, of course, my fantasy football hot seat with Rob, my producer. It's a fun show where we do our studs, duds, starts, sits. Trade targets is over, so Rob doesn't get to have that fun anymore. But we also have my waiver wire targets, top streamable defenses. Really, it's a show I love having fun with. But not only will I get to have fun with Rob doing that, but we have been killing the game this year. So I hope if anybody's been listening to that, you've been winning your games, because I know I have in most of my leagues. And then other than that, if you have anything to give this year, please go to check out the Blitzalytics All Heart Charity League. It's go.rallyup.com/allheart. There's 10 different teams representing 10 different charities. Anything that you can give, please go help out. As much as it helps them get waiver wire position for fantasy football, we just want to help out these great causes and give as much money as we can in the first year of the All Heart Charity League. Also, too, if you guys are looking to stock those stuffings for Christmas this upcoming season, please go check out the Blitzalytics store. Go to blitzalytics.com. Right there on the right, it should be your right-hand side. There's a store button. Click on that. You can see all the amazing apparel that Rob has created. It's not just like Blitzalytics stuff. We have some team-related stuff. He also has basketball stuff, rapper, the pop culture stuff. So you just go check it out. And if you have any requests, hit him up at Rob Graphics. I'm sure he can put something together for you for the right price, of course, right, Rob? And other than that, go check out those shirts, though. There's a cool Jerry Jones Blue Devil shirt, the DK Metcalf shirt I love. But, yeah, go check it out to support us. Also, they're only $20, so you can put it in your it's a really cool, cheap gift you can get somebody for Christmas this year. So go please check that out. Other than that, thank you for tuning in the Friday edition of Cody Talks NFL. I'll see you guys Monday. Blitz out.
Thank you for watching Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. As always, hit that like and subscribe button, and then hit that bell notification icon to stay up to date on all things football.